So I think I'm developing a clue about this crazy situation that we're all in. Um, and I see people, I encounter people, I listen to people discussing now we've got India attacking Pakistan. And there are all kinds of signs, I suppose you would call it. I watched two recent Tom Hardy films, the actor. And he's a very interesting actor. He's a very talented actor. And he's always presented a kind of human being on screen, which in a sense is almost where the human being becomes the most honest. I know you'll find that to be weird, but that's true. He has this very stubborn, masculine quality, thing, essence, and it's not even masculine in the sense that a woman could have the same thing. It's sort of beyond that definition, but it will read as masculine. He's stocky, well built, and powerful. So it has that. But he's in these films, and he wanders through these very bad, or not very good pieces. There's no need to tell you which, because he has done a masterpiece. He did a masterpiece many years ago called Locke, which interestingly was basically him in an SUV driving from one place to another and dealing with a problem on his speakerphone. So he was being contacted by other people, so you heard their voices too. So it's almost like it was a conversation, except that the other person isn't there, not visible. So the camera's only filming him, which is always an interesting film technique in and of itself. And this film would not have worked with anybody, I think, unlike him. And then he's placed in other films, he's placed in contact with others, and there's something strange about his relationship to other actors. And there's a sort of in a sense, they become trivial. They're not there in his presence. Anyway, this I wonder, as I watch him, it triggers something, and I watch him, and I'm looking, and I know a little bit about his background, his training, his ute, and all that kind of stuff, and I feel that he's arrived at a certain place now. To go back now immediately to society and what ails us. Very, very bright people discuss us, the human race, through the lens or through the prism of our civilization. And we have a distinct civilization where I live, where you live. And but they never really question how useful that civilization is to the people who live in it. And, whether it was Socrates or Buddha, to some extent Jesus, though not quite in the same way, all the way through history. I'm sure Sappho, Toni Morrison, certainly in my time, people have been suggesting that the human being is not, what we call a human being is not what we have come up with. We have come up with a shallow version. We have all the skills to not be shallow, but we've chosen to be shallow. We've chosen to be materialist and other things at the expense of everything else. I'm as materialist as the next guy, trust me. But you know, where in my opinion, we are juvenile. Our culture is juvenile, and we're certainly not led by people. We need leading because we are juveniles. We are the children of God, if you like, not the adults of God. And, you know, we have a certain time upon the earth, and we start off quite well, I think. We start off operating on a much deeper, much more vivid, varied level. And then we shut down. We shut down particularly when we get into our I suppose you would call them our productive years, and I would call them our years of jealousy and status seeking and money grubbing, if you like. Some of us continue to be money grubbers until the very end. So there's no, if all the great, wonderful, profound people out there, you know, the kids at Novara Media that I encounter, the Glenn Greenwald, Brianna Joy Gray, these are people who are seeking. It's not even so much that they are intelligent, which they are just uneasy with something, and I'm suggesting what the source of their unease. Somebody was on Novara actually the other day, and she was talking about how she felt about God and religion. She felt it was about acceptance and love and being welcomed and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, gosh, okay. And then when you're 17, what happens then? What are your values then? At what point do you become the one who says, come here and I will take care of you? Or are you constantly being taken care of? And so that the sort of Tom Hardy step, and Tom becomes difficult probably. I've seen it in lots of actors. I see it in moments in lots of actors. Kevin Spacey. I mean, you know, ones who've fallen from grace. And I think part of the reason they fall from grace is because they exert, not Kevin, but they exert a kind of personality that we have not only rejected, but in the process, we've become afraid of it, him, her. The it, him, her. Angela Davis. Toni Morrison for sure. Alice Walker for sure. And I'm not sure what the only element that I could, you know, we can call it spirituality, we can call it any number of things, but what I'm looking at is an arrival. James Baldwin, gosh. We're looking at human beings who've arrived somewhere. Malcolm X. Almost Malcolm X more than Martin Luther King, because Martin was operating with this great faith system. I think it was his genius that he continued to develop almost despite that. Attack me if you will. So, yeah, so the things that we consider to be important, our needs, are childish, or some awful limbo between youth and death. We get into this thing, and I, for one, find it a very, very strange place to inhabit. You know, so I can, as I said the other day, margin call, I can watch a film like that, and I can watch these marvelous actors doing this marvelous job of playing really, really severely limited people. People that I wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes with. And, you know, to go back to it and not beat it to death, but to go back to the marvelous adolescence. There is no adult in that film. There are the closest are the parents of the boy, but even they are, at least they know that, at least they're trying for something. The mother in particular, who doesn't get much talk. You know, of course we're all talking about the boy. That's what we relate to, is the boy. And if they were to go further with the film, I would be, I would make season 2 about that black girl, that marvelous creature, that just fantastic energy, and you know, she was just having none of it, and how a world might revolve around that kind of a creature. And of course, we're concerned because these children are, in our minds, dangerous, and that's not because they're dangerous, it's because we are weak. We adults, we are weak. You know, we in our creation, and I've said this about the monotheisms are anti-human. Every human trait that you might have, they reject. And they might come back with this notion of universal love, which they never practice. It's most decidedly not universal. And when it gets out of hand, they just start murdering people. I mean, somebody said something the other day, a most extraordinary thing. It's the guy Lavar something or other who did something famous in Roots, and he was talking to, I can't remember, it was a little clip, and he said, you know, I'm still angry. And then somebody wrote in the thing, well, this is the problem, you know, he's successful, he's made it, and he's still angry. That is what is the essence of their race, meaning, you know, black people. And I thought, dude, look at the evidence. Look at the evidence of the race that you are presumably promoting, the death count, and come back with this inherent violent thing. Anyway.